Hi everyone, Peter here from Movement and Performance, and in this presentation we're going to be talking about why athletes should lift weights and why resistance training is going to be important in the physical development and enhancement of athletes. So first we need to understand what resistance training can do for us as athletes. So the first thing and the main benefit we're going to get is basically increasing force production, which is essentially strength. So what we can do as when we lift weights, we can get stronger and we can therefore basically produce more force by certain muscle groups in certain movements. And this is important because all athletic activities essentially require force production. So increasing this absolute amount of force production is going to enhance our potential when we need to do more specific training methods, which we'll talk about later. And essentially the only way we can increase our force production is by our absolute force production is by using resistance training. So lifting weights heavier and heavier over time in order to increase how much force we can actually produce by our body in certain movements. The other benefit that resistance training can give athletes is hypertrophy, so building muscle mass. And muscle mass may enhance athletic performance for certain athletes, but it's going to be pretty dependent on the individual athlete and the sport. So, again, muscle mass requirements are going to be dependent on the athlete. So, for example, if we have an American football lineman versus a soccer midfielder, they're probably going to have fairly different requirements for muscle mass. So, an American football lineman might need to do a lot more hypertrophy type training with resistance training, whereas a soccer midfielder may not really need any specific hypertrophy training, but they can benefit from the force production that we talked about in the previous slide. So the benefits of hypertrophy for some athletes are going to be it's going to help enhance our force production and our strength, like we talked about in the previous slide. So hypertrophy can actually help develop strength. Also, we can increase our total body mass and basically our body size, which is going to be helpful in some collision sports like rugby or American football, where actual body mass and weight is going to play a role in actual athletic performance. And also, we can have injury prevention. So by building certain muscle groups, for example, in rugby or American football, building up our muscles around our neck can help prevent certain neck injuries. So back to talking about maximum strength or maximum force production in the previous two slides, we need to understand that just increasing maximum strength is not specific to athletic ability seen in sport. So maximum strength essentially is not specific in regards to movements, so we can't have there's no barbells or dumbbells or resistance implements in most sporting situations except for weightlifting, powerlifting, CrossFit, and those sort of sports. So there's no real movement specificity. There's not really a velocity specificity either. Most of the movements we need for athletic performance are going to be a lot faster than moving maximal loads. There's not a load specificity, so there's no actual like we talked about just then. There's not really generally much resistance in terms of things like running, jumping, throwing. There's not heavy loads that we need to move, and also there's not as much use of the stretch shortening cycle when doing maximum strength training. But when we talk about specific athletic abilities, we may need to implement training methods that use a lot more of the stretch shortening cycle. So just understand that maximum strength is not specific to athletic performance. It's not directly going to transfer. However, in order to transfer this strength that we've built to specific athletic abilities, we need to actually use specific training methods. So strength training can provide that base, so that base of allowing us to produce more force. However, the strength is not going to directly transfer. So in order to actually transfer that strength, we need to then do specific training exercises. However, the importance of doing strength prior to specific training methods is that strength, increasing our force production, can potentiate specific training methods in the future. So if we use some strength training to increase our ability to produce maximum force, we can then use specific training methods, and then when we use those training methods, we then have the ability to produce more force during those movements that are going to be really important for athletic performance. So strength can essentially potentiate these specific training methods. That's it for this presentation, guys. Hopefully you got something out of it, and thanks for listening. You can follow Movement and Performance on Facebook and on Instagram with the details here. And then on YouTube, you can subscribe if you want to see more informative videos on this channel. So if you're a curious individual, like you probably are if you're watching this video and you want to learn more, then on Facebook and Instagram, you'll find these research infographics which are posted daily, which are essentially the latest research summarized into these easy to understand graphics so that you can stay up to date with the latest research in sports performance training, which is going to be good if you're a coach or an athlete wanting to have that cutting edge. You'll also find footage of athletes training and then other short informative videos covering a brief topic. So thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you got something out of it.